so far of the hush money trial, Ryan.
Okay, thank you for that, Yasmin. Jeremy Saland, let's go to you now. From your perspective, how does Hope Hicks play into the prosecution's case?
She did a solid job. Again, another solid witness for the prosecution. She establishes this crisis. We heard that term. We heard that, as Yasmin said, this was a tight-knit, family-run organization. We also know that everything was really vetted through Donald Trump. When there was a message sent, Donald Trump approved it. We heard about the tweeting, how it was either from Donald Trump or Donald Trump's approval, how Donald Trump can multitask. There was so much going back to Donald Trump. Donald Trump asked for David Pecker's number because he wasn't sure if he still had it, if it was the right one. So I think, as Yasmin just said, it's connecting those dots and building upon that foundation that we've started off with David Pecker, and we're going to follow it through, and we're eventually going to get to Michael Cohen, but we're going to try to take, as a prosecution, the wind out of the defense sails about the lack of credibility and putting it all on his shoulders. So it's those building blocks that we're hearing from Hope Hicks, who, I remind the people who are listening, she was testifying on a subpoena, not because she wanted to be there, but because she had to be there.
And obviously, she was one of the big star witnesses that we had anticipated. Her testimony is not done quite yet. But how important are the technical witnesses that we also heard from earlier today and late yesterday? Do they play just as important a role?
Well, they're necessary, and they're sometimes mundane and boring. This isn't Law and Order getting summed up in an hour on TV. When Donald Trump or any defendant does not stipulate to certain evidence coming in, you have to lay that foundation. So in the beginning of the trial, there was at one point Donald Trump didn't waive what was called his anti-marky rights, and he wanted to be at all sidebars, and then he waived that. That's what's happening here, laying the foundation.
And I should point out, Hope Hicks' testimony is done at this point. I also want to talk to you about Donald Trump's backtracking. He originally came out to the cameras and said that the gag order put him in a position where he couldn't even testify because it was so limiting. Now he came out today and said, actually, no, I can testify. I take it all back. I mean, what do you make of the back and forth here with Trump on this?
I can think of so many words: disheartening, disappointing, tragic even, that this man is doing and saying these things. Innocent in the courtroom, 100% until proven guilty, if proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But the weaponization outside the courtroom is just dismantling the criminal justice system or trust in it. And Blanche and his attorneys, I get it. He's the boss. But you're the boss, too. You're counsel. I get it. There's an agenda because there's a campaign. But they have to reel him in for the sake of it. I hate to say it so broadly, but for the sake of the nation, because he's tearing things down that should not be torn down and creating a false narrative.
And then finally, just give us the overall grade of the job you think that's been done by the district attorney's office up until this point, and then the same for the defense.
I think the district attorney's office is getting an A. Now, whether they meaning the prosecution, is going to establish for the jury that there's a second crime or the cover-up or the effort to commit another crime, well, that's still yet to be seen, but it's really going in that direction. And the defense is working with what they can. You're working with people cooperating. You're working with people who have agendas. But there's only so much you can do, for example, with Hope Hicks, when this is not necessarily an adversarial witness and she's testifying credibly. And there's only so much you can poke holes in. They're working with what they can. And certainly I don't think that's going to lead to Donald Trump testifying in his defense. But crazier things have happened, and he's certainly done this before. We will see.
Okay. Jeremy Saland, thank you so much.